Hey everyone, it's Susan Pierce Thompson and welcome to the weekly vlog. This week I'm going to answer a question from someone in the tribe who wants to know how to handle supporting a family member in doing Bright Line Eating. So here's the question. Hi Susan, thank you for your wonderful program. I have already lost 10 of the 20 pounds that I have to lose. I shared your book with my mom, who is probably about 50 pounds overweight. I am an 8 on the susceptibility scale, while she is a full 10. On second thought, she's probably more like an 11, like you joke about yourself. So she decided to do Bright Line Eating, which is awesome. Although she is a type B personality with an aversion to structure and a very strong live and let live attitude, as well as being a gregarious social butterfly. Suffice it to say, she is struggling immensely. She falters in writing down her food and is constantly buying cookies and pastries for the rest of the family, among other things. I struggle immensely seeing all the self-sabotage. She clearly would thrive in the boot camp because of her social nature, yet she's skeptical. Any advice on how to act around her? Any suggestions I make seem to be lost on her, and it's painful for me to sit in silence and watch her take such a useful program and not implement it properly. Thanks. Best wishes and love, Dimitrina. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I so feel the frustration and the pain and the struggle as we watch loved ones and family members have knowledge of Bright Line Eating and not be in a place where they're willing and able to implement it fully. Yeah, and to watch them struggle. All right, so I think, Dimitrina, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If I'm not, I'm sorry about that. I think there's 3 principles that really apply here. The first one, which I talk about in the bootcamp a lot, is for us to keep our eyes on our own plate. And it's funny that you mentioned the live and let live attitude that your mom has, right? So that's kind of the idea. It's a frustrating thing, but Bright Line Eating is not for people who need it. It's for people who want it and are willing to do what it takes to implement it. And unfortunately, that's not all of the people who need it. It's just really not. As a matter of fact, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny subset of the people who need it. And yeah, so keep our eyes on our own plate. That means, really all we can control is our own program and our own eating, our own lives, our own food, our own attitude, our own everything, right? Like we have control over ourselves and we have no control over other people. Now, the second principle actually is that keeping our eyes on our own plate is even more important when it comes to family. So the second principle is that when it comes to our family members, we are uniquely ill-equipped to help them. Because the family dynamics, the family relationships place us in a position to not really be helpful. And it's one of the darndest things because, of course, we care about our family so much more. But all of the sort of family intertwining that happens means that somehow, and I don't, yes, I have a background as a psychology professor, but in full candor, my area of expertise was on the neuroscience tip. It was not on the sort of clinical relational psychology tip. So I don't really understand the ins and outs of this, to be honest. Just as a human being with a family, I can just say, and having coached so many people doing Bright Line Eating and having seen lots and lots and lots of family, sets of family members doing Bright Line Eating, I can definitely say that for some reason, when we try to help family, and make those suggestions, we are not helpful. Like it falls on deaf ears, just like you're experiencing. And it's all the more true when it's family. It's also true with close friends, but it's even more true with family. It's almost like the closer we are to somebody, the more we love them, the more we want them to succeed with Bright Line Eating, the less helpful any last thing we say is likely to be. It's almost a direct correlation where the more we love them, the more we want it for them, the less power we have to help at all. Yeah. So, that's kind of the bad news here, is an attitude of, extreme detachment and, surrender and live and let live and, I guess acceptance is all that's likely to be helpful here. Now, the third principle that I think is in play, I think is going to be the saving grace in terms of, just for all of us who care about our family members and want them to be healthy. And I know that, for many, this is no less than life and death. Like many of us are watching our family members eat themselves to death. I'm talking about, watching family members who are 300 and 400 pounds with, swollen feet and diabetes and, about to need an amputation, about to need a heart surgery, and watching them continue to eat. So, I don't at all mean to trivialize how challenging it is to have a family member struggle. And even if someone's not experiencing that kind of intensity of physical symptoms, just watching someone struggle with food addiction, the binging, the recovering, all of that, it's incredibly painful. So here's the third principle, which I think offers those of us who want this so badly for our family members a little bit of saving grace. And it's perspective on the journey. Because those of us who get Bright Line Eating, we get it now because we didn't get it then. We get it now because we're at a point in our journey where we've done a certain amount of research and proven to ourselves how much we need it. And there's this history that we have with our own suffering and our own ridiculousness with food that finally gets us to a point where we're willing to surrender. And so I guess what I want to say is that if we can keep in mind the hope that anyone who's on a successful Bright Line Eating journey, if you look back at various points in their life, they would have looked like a total abysmal failure with their food. By definition, it would have been ugly at time A and time B and time C and time D. All of those points, certainly little moments here of minuscule success with this diet or that approach or whatever, but mostly our journeys were characterized by horrific failure up until the point where we got it and were willing to surrender. So I guess what I want to say is, your mom's in process. She's on her journey, as much as it might look like, not the textbook case of Bright Line Eating rockstar success. That's actually what it looks like on the path of Bright Line Eating rockstar success, just at an earlier point in time. You see what I'm saying? She's just at an earlier point in time on her journey. So, and the reality is that you get zero say about when she reaches a successful point in time. It's just not up to you. So the more you can surrender and detach, the better. The less you can say, the better. There's nothing you can say that will be helpful. If you want something to do, pray. If you don't pray, then you have nothing to do. And that's it. Keep your eyes on your own plate. I mean, the only other thing you can do, of course, is tend to your own food journey. You want something to do, focus on your own eating. Focus on your own happiness, well-being, meditation, exercise. Focus on your own health and well-being. Do your own journey and let her do hers. And unfortunately, that's all we get to do, is take care of ourselves on this one. So I am imagining that's not what you were hoping I would say. But I hope that upon reflection, it proves helpful. And I'm wishing you the best, and I'm wishing your mom the best. And for all of us in Bright Line Eating Land who are wishing for our friends and loved ones and family members to get healthy with Bright Line Eating, let us all just remember to keep our eyes on our own plate and, focus on the one that we can control. So that is the weekly vlog. I love you. Thank you for spending this week with me, this week with me, and I'll see you next week.